the question is, what are the piano roll top bar tools? It's a little bit, I'm paraphrasing, but the basic question is to look at the tools here in the top bar of the piano roll, as you can see here. So these tools are very, very handy, and it can give us some really cool features that we might want. So let me bring up a piano just for us to listen to something while I work here. And let's start with the triangle here. And these are the piano roll options. And you can pretty much find all the options available in the piano roll. You can find them here. So it's worth take a while and go through every single option, at least read them. I don't think that you should memorize them, but you can read them once in a while so that you know what are the options available, because that's very important for you to recognize what are the options available, and what can you do with the piano roll, you know. So we can go here, what tools are available, the stamp mode, view mode, and all this stuff is good to go and listen to this stuff or to read these options, so that every time in the future, if you find something that you want to do, I was like, yeah, I read once that there's an option for that. Let me go through and try to find that option. So that also starts giving you experience working with FL Studio. So this is the main thing. So it's always the options here. This is where you will find all the available options. Then we have here these tools. And these are MIDI tools. As you can see, if I go here, tools, I will have the same menu, but this is just a shortcut to that. And this is tools for MIDI. So let's say that I want to create a minor chord. And we can also do here with stamp. So let's do minor. And let's put this on A minor, like that. And let's say that now I want to strum this. One way that I can do that is go here and do strum. And you see automatically created a nice strumming for me. I can even increase the strength or the time, except let's go an octave higher. And that's as easy as that, you know. So this menu here gives you the tools, or this icon here gives you the MIDI tools available. If I want to do an arpeggio, very cool, very easy to do, and it can really, really accelerate your workflow. You just create some chords, and if you can just do that here with the arpeggio. We have strum, flam for drums. We have a flip if we want to flip the chords. You see that it flips the orientation of the chords, and I can shop them. If I go here, let's make less time. Something like that. Of course, you can mess around with the velocity and panning and all that good stuff. But that's it. So this is the options here, the tools. This is to work with MIDI tools. This here, snap to grid, just gives you controls over how the grid works. So let's say that I want to work with step mode. I go here, and you can see that we have these lines here that indicate that this is the current grid. So if I want to put something there, and I can move only in between these lines here that you see. And of course, these darker lines represent a beat or a bar. And then these lines here represent beats, and these ones represent steps. So as you can see now, I can only go in steps. If I choose, for instance, beat, I can only go move in beats. And if I choose, bar, I can only move in bars. So the snap to grid is something that you will use every single time, and it's very, very handy. For instance, if I go 1.5 steps, you see that I can go in half steps, and I can even go further, like 1/4, and you see that the grid starts to go even smaller every time, and we can manipulate, or we can move things in a more granular step size or size, grid size. So that's it. We can always have also none here, and none just enables us to put whatever position we want. We are not associated with the grid anymore. We can move chords or notes around in every single position right there. Of course, there's always a granularity there, so there's always a step there, but you can pretty much move things around without having a fixed grid. Okay, then we have here the step mode. We've seen the step mode. This is where you can create your chords. We have here a bunch of scales also, or melodic scales, percussion, and let's put this one. You can see we can really speed up our workflow by just bringing some of these steps here, and let's see this slide up. Yeah, this slide up just makes a slide note right there, and let's see how this sounds. Yeah, in the piano roll, in this piano instrument, we don't have support for slide notes, but you can see that we can pretty much do a major. Let's do a major chord here, and you see that is different from the minor in this step here. And that's it. That's the step mode. Then we have the loop mode, which I'm not going to go into detail, but basically we can create loops and have, for instance, this loop in 1 bar, and then have other instruments loop in, for instance, 4 bars. And this will be always in the same pattern. Okay, so let's take that off. Then we have the draw pencil. And if I go here, we have, let me see if I can find where is those tools. I would assume those tools will also be here, but I don't think so. No, those tools are not, you cannot enable these tools in the menu, but let's go through them. So this is the pencil, this is the draw, which as you can see is the pencil that we can just draw stuff in FL Studio. It's or in the piano roll. It's very simple, very intuitive. Then we have the paint. And this one here allows us to just click once and then paint stuff around. So if I click once and then move to the right, you see that I create new notes every time I move to the right. This is very useful, for instance, for hi-hats. Let's say that you want to create a hi-hat in every 2 steps. You can just create one of these notes and then just drag and drop or click and drag, and you will create a sequence like that. So that's very handy, very useful. And then we also have this one here, which is paint in drum sequencer mode. I think this is pretty much the same as this one. So yeah, and as you can see, this just gives me the step. I assume that if I go to beat, it will change for that the size of the grid. So if I want to go beat, I can do that. But for instance, if I go to this one, and if I have that, you see that it creates only for the size, the previous size that I had enabled. So it will always work with a grid. So let's say, but if I have a higher note like that, I can start here and it creates a bunch of them. But if I have here, you see that it creates based on the size of the step here, or on the size of the snap to the grid. So that's it. This one here is to delete. Very easy to memorize. We can just click here and delete. And we can also do this with a right click. So if you see, if I right click on the piano roll, you see that I have the same symbol, which is that one, delete symbol. And then we have the mute. So let's say that I play here some notes. let's say that I want to mute one of them. Let's say that I want to mute this one and this one. Now I'm just playing one and I want to unmute that one. This can be very handy if you want to try things out. You can just mute one of the notes. And if you are in the draw mode, you can double click on the right button and you enable the mute button. So if you click once in this mode, you get the delete mode. But if you click twice, you get the mute button. So this is very handy also. Then we have here the slice, which is very, very simple. You can see that I can just slice things up. If I click on Shift, it will lock vertically. So I will not be able to move things around or do a diagonal cut. But if I remove Shift, you can see that I now can create a diagonal cut. Oops. And if I do Shift, you see that it locks vertically. Then we have the select button, which basically just allows us to select stuff. And then we have zoom. And this one here is the playback, where we can just click on notes like that. So if you want, if we are in draw mode and we click on Alt, let's see. If I click on Alt, as you can see, I have Alt clicked. And if I right click on every single note, you see that it plays the chords as if I were in the playback mode. So it's also very handy for you to start realizing that you have these shortcuts, that you don't always need to go back here and let's say, oh, I want to play back and okay, this sounds good. Let me now go back to the draw and draw more. No, you can just click on Alt, right click, and you listen to the things, and you are automatically in the draw mode or in the pencil here selected. So it's very handy. And of course, again, if you right click twice, you get the mute. If you right click once, you get the delete option. And yeah, this button here just plays the selection. And if you are in song mode and you click here, you go back to play to pattern mode. And I think that's it. Those are the options here, the buttons. Of course, this is the selector of the instrument that you have selected. And yeah, I think that's it.